Sportsnet has revealed a top target for Montreal to offer sheet this offseason as they suggest Montreal goes after Seth Jarvis in Carolina. One of the crazier propositions we've heard this offseason. We had to get into that and how it could work for Montreal. Plus, the Habs have once again been linked to star young center Marco Rossi from the Minnesota Wild. That plus much more all coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. Before we get into that though, Jesse, I want to get into another Habs prospect, kind of breakdown tier list type thing. And this one is from Habs Eye on the Prize. Now, we went over Montreal Hockey Now's the other day. And before we get into this, guys, next Monday, July 15th, we will be live doing a tier list ranking of all Habs prospects with your help. So if you want to help make this the best Habs prospect tier list on the planet with us live on Monday, join us 6:15 p.m. Eastern, Monday, July 15th. You won't want to miss it. But in the meantime, Jesse, we got to talk about Habs Eye on the Prize, and you can pause this and take a look at what their definitions are for each tier if you like, but I'm just going to go over the top couple. Number one, tier one is a legit superstar. Tier two is like a top line guy, but maybe not quite legit superstar. Tier three is a top six or number two or three defenseman, and tier four, you're starting to get into that sort of middle tier offensive, middle tier defensive. But ultimately, here is the list. Why did that pop up? There we go. Demidov is a superstar, according to them, of course. Hudson and Reinbacher with that top pairing, number one defenseman caliber kind of players, with Fowler, Xhekaj, and Mailloux making tier 3, Jesse, with some notable exclusions in Waugh and Beck in tier 4. Now, I just wanted to get your first opinions right off the bat here. We'll bring this back up in a second, but to me, I like to meet up in the top. I love the love they're showing for Reinbacher, but I'm starting to see Waugh and Beck in the tier with some of the other guys in that tier, and I don't know, man. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I feel like some of these guys could get bumped up a bit.
This is looking nice, and we finally got that elite level talent that so many people were telling us that we needed. Okay, maybe they were right, but we knew it, right? But we got that more elite level talent into the system with Ivan Demidov. Really changes everything for this prospect pool going forward. Already one of the best in the leagues. Now, in my opinion, taking over the top. To that point, though, I am having Hudson in that category with Demidov, right? I think he has superstar potential. I think he's the next coming of Adam Fox. Next year is going to be Lane Hudson's breakout party. He is going to get so much buzz around the NHL for his level of play, of what he's going to be doing on the ice. Josh, we know his tricks. They still work. The head fakes, the jukes, the deceptiveness, all of that. Lane Hudson's a gamer. He's going to be making stuff happen on the ice with Ivan Demidov. So that's one thing right off the top. I would have him right there with the man from Russia.
Yeah, well, I love that take. I absolutely love it. And while Demidov certainly has that elite level prospect ability, I think Hudson can also get there. And basically, when you read the article, which I will link down below, and I highly suggest you go take a look through because there's some really detailed and great breakdowns. Please go read it. But when we're talking about like ceilings for these guys, I think Hudson's ceiling is right up there. I think Reinbacher's about right in that tier. One other thing I would want to change is I'm going to bring this back up probably for the last time, Jesse. Joshua Watt, I get maybe having Owen Beck as a middle six kind of peak kind of guy. Maybe you don't see Beck as that true top six talent. I think Watt has shown enough for me to say that his ceiling certainly is a top six guy. And I feel like we don't know a whole lot about Xhekaj. I don't know if I'm comfortable putting him there yet, but maybe. But Mailloux as well. He could be good. I don't know if he's number 2 or 3 on a very good team level good. I think he can be a second pairing defenseman on a solid team. I don't know if I'm willing to put him up into that top pairing defenseman, borderline second pairing that they have him. Would you agree with that, Jesse? Would you move Waugh up and maybe Mailloux down, or would you kind of keep them where they are? I feel like I'm just higher on Waugh than a lot of other people, maybe.
I would, I agree with you on Waugh. With Mailloux, I believe that, if we're looking at a defense core in terms of 6, he's in that top 3. So I'd agree that, maybe if it even more is like that number 3 defenseman. And I do have him on a tier above Adam Engstrom. That would maybe kind of, so that's one thing I do like about this list, in comparison to kind of some other ones that we have been seeing. I think Engstrom is great. He projects really well and everything else like that, but we still need to see a lot more. Mailloux has been doing some phenomenal stuff, right? We know offense is so important in this league. That's why I feel he's going to have a very long career in the NHL with that size already being NHL ready. So that's maybe just some of the modifications I'd make to this list personally.
Yeah, that's fair. And I want to hear from all your guys' modifications down below too. You're going to agree with some, you're not going to agree with some others. But if you want to make a list that you play a part in, like I said, join us next Monday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern, where we will make our own tier list. But it's time to get into the next topic, Jesse, and it has to do with Marco Rossi, a guy that we brought up before, a guy that when I first heard he was on the trade block, I think we might have been the first channel to mention him to Montreal. I don't know if I want to call my shot there, but I think we were. And Marco Rossi is a guy that I love. You guys know I also like the Minnesota Wild. And I think he has amazing potential. And according to Dave Pagnotta, this is their top 25 trade targets for the offseason. As TFP first reported, the Wild have made Rossi available and are looking for a hockey trade, a talent for talent swap. Rossi is an RFA this July, and plenty of teams will be calling. Teams that are linked: Philadelphia, Calgary, Utah, Montreal, and Ottawa. A lot of familiar team names there, and none of them are that surprising. He's an RFA, Jesse, and my gosh, did he have such a great season. Why does that keep popping up? 82 games, 21 goals, 19 assists. Not to mention, Jesse, he's more of a playmaker than a goal scorer. He had over 80 assists in his final season in the OHL, and in the AHL, he was consistently around 15 goals, 35 assists. So he is a guy that just, really, really exudes playmaking, but also clearly has that goal scoring upside. The problem, he's 5'9", and the Minnesota Wild want to compete now, so maybe the Habs have some guys that can help bolster their defense, though they do have Brock Faber. They did just draft Z Boyum. They still have Jared Spurgeon if he comes back healthy and stuff, but I think the Habs could maybe have some pieces. I don't know if the Wild would take... I don't know what they'd ask for. I don't know if they'd ask for maybe an older, more established player. But to me, Jesse, if Marco Rossi's looking for a trade, I know he's 5'9", but this is the kind of established talent the Habs might be looking for.
Yeah, for sure. And at 21 years of age, 22 years of age, scoring 21 goals last year, like, you have to feel more is to come very soon. Like, size is that one knock against. Otherwise, you got to love his compete, his playmaking, as he said as well, right? But kind of the two things that are really holding us back is, again, Minnesota, they're looking for a hockey trade, which we definitely got some players we're looking to get rid of, but they're looking for some players that could definitely have an impact right away. And Marco Rossi's looking for a little bit more of a longer-term deal. And rightfully so. He's a young man producing at a pretty good clip here at the NHL. You have to feel like that's going to take a pretty big jump up pretty soon. So it's just those shorter term deals, right, that would make sense for the Habs. I think still as a stopgap, he'd be an interesting sort of thing, like short term deal, and see as a fit from there if we'd want to maybe sign him for longer. We know we have a need for the short term. Probably not what he's looking for, but I think we want to test the waters out before kind of committing to too much, knowing what we have in the pipeline. So for those reasons, I don't really see that trade happening. But in terms of just hockey talent, this player definitely has it.
Yeah, that's it. The hockey talent's there. The rest of the fit, I'm not so sure, but you should be kicking tires on him because you never know. Like, especially if you can get him for a price that you are comfortable with, it's never a bad idea to go get a good player. And he does fit the timeline. He fits the point-getting ability that Kent Hughes and the Habs are going to be looking for. Could he project as a better second-line center than Dach? That's yet to be seen. I don't know. I think Dach has incredible potential. Obviously, he's bigger, but Rossi still hasn't touched his either. His potential, of course, delayed a bit because of his big-time struggles with COVID and heart issues. But it's going to be interesting. Let us know your thoughts on Rossi down below. I know a lot of you don't like him because he's small. I love him. He has a great spot in my heart, but hey, you know what? I'll take the heat for it. But I want to hear from you down below. Jesse, we're going to move into the final topic here. And there's no way, right? Like, Seth Jarvis is a legend in Carolina. The fans have already said, like, oh, they love him so much, and for good reason. Seth Jarvis is just an unbelievable talent, and I'll bring up his stats in a bit. But in a recent article on Sportsnet, one of the writers, Emily Sadler, wrote this. Basically said the final year of Seth's entry-level deal brought a major jump in his production, and his next deal will bring a jump in his salary, no doubt. There aren't many teams with the draft capital to make a big money offer sheet because you have to give up a lot of draft picks if you give him a lot of money, right? But they said, look closely. If you look at the list of teams that can give him a really high salary and have the assets to make it happen, a certain bleu, blanc, et rouge logo is there at each salary tier. A team that could surely use a boost of offense. And if we take a look at Seth Jarvis, Jesse, my gosh, just 22 and a half years old, 81 games, 67 points, including 33 goals, 43 takeaways, 42 giveaways. His Corsi C4 percentage was an absurd 60%, which is really, really good. Now, he had a really high shot percentage this year as well, so maybe he's not 33 goals good, but I would argue he could be. His expected plus minus was plus 9.4. There is so much to love about Seth Jarvis. He's a great interview. His teammates love him. He loves Carolina, which is why I just don't see this happening. Guys, some people seem to forget that when you offer an offer sheet to a player, they still have to sign it. There's nothing that says that he has to sign with Montreal. If, Kent Hughes gives him an offer sheet, Kent can offer him an offer sheet. Seth can just say no. This is why I don't think it's going to happen. I think Carolina, first of all, would match anything Montreal would give unless Montreal grossly overpays. And that's not within the Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton MO.
No, there's a reason that we don't see offer sheets too much in the NHL. But at the same time, like, what is going on in Carolina, right? Like, they are having a whirlwind of an off season. Like, everybody that you thought was going to go, is staying, looking like, Natchez is looking to get a deal done there. And, Jarvis, right, who seemed like a lock, to kind of be part of this team, going forward. Obviously, there's some questions. They're looking to make something happen there. The writing's on the wall, like, for all the reasons why he's so appealing to Montreal, like, in terms of the age, goal scoring, the culture, right? Like, character is such a good fit in so many ways. Like, if Kent could kind of figure out a way to do a trade, obviously this would be the ideal situation, right? Because you have to feel, young centerman. He's just going to continue to really produce, so he's exactly the type of player that the Habs need. But it just kind of reiterates that point that sometimes to get those type of players, you really need to pay for it. And the trade route would probably be most likely here.
It would be most likely, and I don't think Carolina would even entertain a trade, right? Like, I just think that they see him as their guy of the future. And again, for good reason. If I'm Carolina, I am not giving him up for basically anything. I am starting the talk at your team's best players, So I don't see a world where this happens. First of all, I don't see Kent Hughes offer sheeting him just to annoy Carolina anymore. It just doesn't really fit the MO. If Jarvis was available and there was rumors around him, I would be on this guy in a heartbeat because, like you said, Jesse, he fits everything. He fits the timeline. He fits the point getting. He fits the culture. It's perfect. But he's not leaving Carolina. I'm calling that here now. This is a great article, by the way, and I am going to link it down below. It does raise some interesting thoughts. Absolutely no hate to Emily and the author of this. I thought it was a really fun article. There's a lot of other people, too, like Jeremy Swayman on this list, and they talk about some RFAs that could get offer sheets. It's purely hypothetical. She also says she doesn't believe it's going to happen, but it's a fun thought exercise. What do you guys think? I mean, if there was any world out there where Montreal could get their hands on Seth Jarvis, would you do it? Because I think we certainly would. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. Thank you so much again for 13,000 subscribers. We also passed my brother's channel, Jay's Digest, so thank you very much for that. And if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support every single day. Tune in next Monday for our Habs prospect tier list. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.